Under the pale glow of the Massachusetts moon, the Connecticut River lies deceptively still. Its surface shimmers faintly, as though hiding a secret. Then, without warning, the water ripples, and 3 lifeless bodies rise to the surface, drifting quietly toward the shore. No one is there to witness it. No one to ask how they ended up in the water. But this haunting discovery sets the stage for a mystery that will tear open lives and expose a darkness far bigger than anyone imagined. Meanwhile, in bustling Boston, life carries on in ordinary rhythm. Detective Thomas Craven, a seasoned homicide cop, waits patiently at South Station, a father excited but concerned. His 24-year-old daughter, Emma, is finally coming home for a visit. The train pulls in, commuters rush past, but Thomas's eyes find only her. She steps onto the platform, and he immediately notices. Something isn't right. She looks pale, tired, maybe even sick. Fathers know when their children are hiding something. As they walk out together, Thomas gently probes. Is she ill? Is she maybe pregnant? Emma brushes it off with a soft laugh, shaking her head. She admits she's seeing someone, but quickly adds that her dad probably wouldn't approve of him. Thomas doesn't press. Right now, it's enough that she's home. That evening, at the family dinner table, a quiet meal turns into a moment Thomas will never forget. Emma suddenly sways, her nose begins to bleed, and before Thomas can react, she vomits violently. Panic sets in. Her skin is clammy, her body trembling. Through tears, Emma whispers desperately, "Dad, take me to a doctor." But before she can explain what's really happening, the night shatters. A sudden gunshot cracks through the air. In an instant, Emma is hit. Blood spreads across her clothes as Thomas screams, rushing to hold her. Neighbors call the police. Lights flood the house. Chaos erupts. Officers arrive quickly, whispering theories. Maybe the shooter was targeting Thomas. After all, he's a homicide detective with enemies. But as he clutches his dying daughter, Thomas knows the bullet wasn't for him. Something much bigger is at play. Hours later, the house is eerily silent. Thomas sits alone, replaying Emma's final words, wondering what secret she had been about to share. In the bathroom, he notices a towel still stained with her blood. He doesn't throw it away. Carefully, reverently, he folds it and sets it aside. To him, it's not just a towel. It's a piece of Emma he can't let go. Sleep becomes impossible. Haunted by loss, Thomas wanders into her room. Everything feels frozen in time. Books half read, clothes still folded, her scent lingering in the air. When her phone suddenly rings on the nightstand, he snatches it up. Hello? Silence. The caller hangs up. Whoever it was, they didn't want to talk. That single unanswered call only deepens his suspicions. At the police station the next day, colleagues urge him to take time off. They offer coffee, water, even ginger ale, hoping to ease his grief. But Thomas refuses. This isn't a random homicide to be filed away. It's personal, and no policy will stop him from investigating his own daughter's death. At the morgue, he forces himself to face the hardest truth. Emma died from the gunshot wound. But before leaving, Thomas asks for scissors. Gently, with trembling hands, he cuts a lock of her hair. A final keepsake. A piece of her he'll carry until his own last breath. Grief crushes him, but his resolve hardens. On a park bench later that night, exhaustion finally drags him into half-sleep. There, in a haze, he sees her, Emma as a child, running, smiling, alive. For a fleeting moment, it feels real. But then she fades, and he's left alone again with the silence. The next morning, Thomas stands by the ocean, holding an urn in his hands. As waves crash against the shore, he scatters Emma's ashes, watching as the tide carries her away. The grief nearly breaks him. But inside, a fire has been lit. His daughter's death was no accident. And now, Thomas Craven is ready to uncover the truth, no matter how deep or how dangerous it may be. Thomas Craven is no stranger to death. As a Boston homicide detective, he's seen the worst of humanity. Jealous lovers, bitter betrayals, senseless killings. But when death comes crashing into your own home, it's different. It isn't just another case file. It isn't evidence on a board. It's personal. And that's when instincts sharpen into something else entirely. Emma's case is supposed to be handled like any other homicide. Detectives arrive, reports are written, and the official theory begins to take shape. The bullet was meant for Thomas. Maybe some old criminal he arrested decided to finally take revenge. Colleagues urge him to let the system work, to let someone else chase the killer. But Thomas knows better. His gut tells him Emma wasn't just in the wrong place at the wrong time. The first clue comes from her belongings. While searching her room, Thomas finds an ID card with the logo of a powerful corporation, Northmore. On the surface, Northmore is a clean energy company, glossy brochures, smiling executives, and a reputation for patriotism. But Emma's connection to them feels wrong. Hidden beneath her clothes are confidential documents, diagrams of nuclear facilities, and a notebook filled with cryptic notes. Why would his daughter, a young woman with no ties to law enforcement, be carrying materials that look like state secrets? Digging deeper, Thomas learns that Emma worked as an intern at Northmoor, but that's only part of the story. Through her notes, he pieces together fragments of conversations. Radiation leaks, environmental crimes, hush money, and a dangerous project buried in secrecy. Suddenly, her violent illness at dinner makes a horrifying kind of sense. Was she poisoned by radiation exposure? The weight of guilt crushes Thomas. She had been terrified, sick, and trying to tell him the truth. And instead of listening, he had dismissed it as stress, as a young woman's secret romance. He had failed her when she needed him most, but he won't fail her again. His search brings him into contact with Emma's activist friends. Nervous, evasive, they confirm what he fears. Emma had joined their efforts to expose Northmore. She was smart, determined, and fearless. She had evidence of illegal nuclear waste storage, documents proving Northmore was hiding radiation-related deaths of employees. She wasn't just caught in the crossfire. She was the target, and yet the danger doesn't stop with her death. Strange men in black cars begin shadowing Thomas's every move. His phone buzzes with anonymous calls. His mail is tampered with. It's clear that Emma's killers aren't done. If he pushes too far, he'll be next. That's when a new player steps into his life, Jedburgh. He's not a cop, not a politician, not even a corporate executive. He introduces himself vaguely, calling himself a cleaner. His suit is immaculate, his voice calm, but his presence radiates menace. Sitting across from Thomas in a quiet restaurant, Jedburgh sips whiskey as though nothing in the world could rattle him. He claims he's there to help. He warns Thomas that Emma had stumbled into dangerous territory, that Northmore is protected by powerful people who will bury anyone who threatens them. His words drip with both caution and threat. He admires Thomas's courage, even sympathizes with his grief, but makes it clear, you're in a game you don't understand. Thomas doesn't trust him. Why would a man like Jedburgh approach him unless he has his own agenda? But one thing is clear. If Jedburgh is involved, then Northmore's reach stretches far beyond simple corporate corruption. We're talking government contracts, shadow operations, and secrets so toxic they can kill not only people but entire truths. Late that night, Thomas stares at Emma's photographs on the wall. Every smile, every memory, pushes him closer to the edge. She wanted to bring the truth to light. She wanted to stop Northmore. And now, she's gone because of it. That's when Thomas makes his decision. He won't stop. He doesn't care about threats, doesn't care about Northmore's power. If his daughter gave her life fighting for justice, then he'll give what's left of his to finish what she started. He's not just a grieving father anymore. He's a detective with nothing left to lose. And that makes him more dangerous than anyone Northmore has ever faced. The morning after his unsettling meeting with Jedburgh, Thomas Craven wakes with the kind of clarity that only grief can sharpen. He knows now that Emma wasn't sick because of chance. Nor did she die because of random violence. Northmore poisoned her life, and someone inside that corporation pulled the trigger. But grief is one thing. Evidence is another. And Thomas understands. If he wants to bring Emma justice, he needs proof strong enough to stand against the billion-dollar fortress that Northmore has built. He starts by tracking down Emma's close friend Burnham, a nervous young man who once worked as a technician at Northmore. Burnham is jittery, his eyes darting to every corner of the room as though microphones and cameras are everywhere. At first, he refuses to talk. But when Thomas presses harder, reminding him that Emma is dead because of this, Burnham cracks. In a whisper, he tells Thomas the truth. Emma discovered that Northmore was secretly developing illegal nuclear weapons under the guise of clean energy research. Worse, they were testing materials on American soil, exposing workers to deadly radiation without protection. Dozens had already died mysteriously from cancers and unknown illnesses. Their families paid off to stay silent. Emma had proof, and she planned to leak it. That's why she was targeted. But Burnham warns him. Northmore isn't just a corporation. It's protected by the government itself. Federal agencies, politicians, and military contracts all tie back to its operations. "You're fighting more than a company," he says. "You're fighting the system." Before Thomas can ask more, Burnham panics. He shoves a flash drive into Thomas's hand and bolts, disappearing into the crowd. Moments later, a black SUV screeches around the corner. Men in suits step out, scanning the area. Thomas realizes Burnham may not live to see tomorrow. That night, Thomas examines the flash drive. The files are encrypted, but even the fragments he can access are damning. Schematics of underground bunkers, radiation exposure reports, and a list of employees marked classified. His heart pounds as he sees Emma's name among them. His daughter wasn't just an intern. She was on their watch list. Determined to dig deeper, Thomas drives to Northmore's facility, a sprawling compound hidden behind layers of security fencing and guard posts. From a distance, it looks ordinary: warehouses, offices, industrial towers. But the closer he gets, the more it feels like a military base. Armed guards patrol the perimeter. Trucks arrive in the dead of night, unloading mysterious cargo sealed in heavy containers. He tries to get closer, slipping through the woods, but before he can breach the fence, headlights blind him. A patrol car screeches to a stop, and guards seize him. Within minutes, he's dragged inside the facility. Instead of being arrested formally, Thomas is taken into a sterile boardroom where a man in a tailored suit waits. His name is Jack Bennett, Northmore's head of security. Calm, cold, and calculating, Bennett doesn't bother with lies. He tells Thomas that Emma's death was a tragic accident, but insists her involvement with Northmore was minimal. "She wasn't a threat," he says smoothly, "just a curious girl in over her head." Thomas knows it's a lie. His fists clench under the table, but he forces himself to stay calm. Bennett leans forward, his voice low and poisonous. "Detective, grief makes men reckless. Don't make the mistake of turning your daughter's death into a crusade. Walk away. Live your life." When Thomas refuses, Bennett's smile vanishes. His tone hardens. "You have no idea how far this goes. If you keep digging, you'll end up like her." He's escorted out of the facility, dumped by the roadside in the middle of the night. But instead of fear, fury burns inside him. He has confirmation now. Northmore killed Emma, and they aren't even afraid to admit it. That means they think they're untouchable. Back home, Thomas studies Emma's files again. The deeper he looks, the clearer it becomes. Northmore is hiding something massive underground. His daughter had gotten close enough to uncover it, close enough to die for it. And now Thomas knows exactly what he has to do. He isn't just going to expose them from the outside. He's going to break into Northmore itself, peel back every layer of their lies, and drag the truth into the light. The night is moonless, the sky heavy with clouds. Thomas Craven sits in his car across from Northmore's outer fence, watching the guards circle with their rifles and flashlights. He knows this is madness. a grieving father sneaking into one of the most secure corporate compounds in the country. But madness feels like sanity when justice is all you have left. He times the patrols, studies their movements, and when the moment comes, he slips into the tree line. Crawling through the mud, he makes it to a drainage tunnel that Emma's notes had mentioned. She must have discovered this same entry point, and the thought that she risked her life this way steels his resolve. Inside, the tunnel reeks of chemicals and rust. Thomas pushes forward, water sloshing around his boots, until he emerges into the underbelly of Northmore. Pipes rattle overhead, carrying steam. The walls hum with electricity. This isn't an energy facility. It feels like a war machine. He moves silently through dim corridors, dodging security cameras and listening for footsteps. At one intersection, he sees a transport lift descending into the earth. 2 guards wheel out a container the size of a coffin, sealed with heavy locks and plastered with radiation warning labels. Thomas ducks into the shadows, heart hammering. Whatever's in those containers isn't meant for clean energy. It's meant for destruction. Pressing deeper, he finds an observation deck overlooking a massive underground chamber. What he sees below takes his breath away. Rows upon rows of nuclear materials line the floor, stacked like crates in a warehouse. Scientists in protective suits move briskly, running tests, logging data. Machines hum as they refine uranium into weapons-grade material. And at the far end, towering like a monument to secrecy, stands a massive containment vault, thick steel doors guarding whatever Northmore values most. This is no energy project. This is an illegal nuclear weapons program, hidden beneath American soil, protected by corporate money and political shields. Emma had been right all along. His hand grips the railing as rage surges through him. His daughter died because she uncovered this monstrosity. She was silenced because she tried to expose the truth. But as Thomas watches, a new horror unfolds. One of the scientists collapses suddenly, clutching his stomach, his skin pale and blistered. 2 guards rush forward, not to help but to drag him away like garbage. No one else stops working. No one protests. It's routine, another casualty of Northmore's deadly experiments. Thomas realizes Emma must have suffered the same symptoms, radiation poisoning slowly eating her from the inside. That's why she was vomiting, why she looked so fragile. She hadn't been sick from stress. She had been poisoned by exposure, and still, she tried to fight. Footsteps echo behind him. Thomas whirls, pressing into the shadows as 2 guards pass. His pulse races, but his resolve hardens. He knows now there's no going back. He has to get this information out. Photographs, files, anything that can prove Northmore's crimes. He creeps into a records room, pulling open drawers filled with classified reports. He stuffs what he can into his jacket. Exposure logs, casualty numbers, schematics of underground facilities. Each document is another nail in Northmore's coffin, if he can survive long enough to show it to the world. But survival won't be easy. An alarm blares suddenly, red lights flashing across the compound. Someone has discovered the breach. Guards swarm the corridors, radios crackling. Thomas bolts down the tunnel, his legs pumping, every instinct screaming at him to move faster. He bursts into the night air, stumbling through the drainage tunnel he used to enter. Gunshots echo behind him, bullets sparking against the concrete. Somehow he makes it to the tree line, diving into the dark forest as dogs bark in the distance. Breath ragged, chest burning, Thomas keeps running. By the time he reaches his car, his jacket is soaked with sweat. But inside are the files that prove everything. He slams the door shut and speeds into the night, headlights cutting through the black. But even as he drives, he knows the truth. Northmore will stop at nothing to get those documents back. His daughter died because she had them. And now, he's carrying the same target on his back. Still, there's no hesitation. Emma wanted the truth to be seen, and Thomas Craven will make sure the world sees it, even if it kills him. Thomas drives through the empty roads like a hunted man. The files he stole from Northmore sit heavy in his jacket as though they're pulsing with the weight of 100 dead lives. Every few miles he checks the rearview mirror, and every time, headlights appear, sometimes following too close, sometimes disappearing the moment he slows. He knows they're watching him. By dawn, he makes his way to a safe place, Emma's old apartment. The smell of her still lingers, books stacked by the window, the faint trace of her perfume. For a moment, Thomas falters, grief overwhelming him. He whispers into the silence, "I've got it, Em. I've got what you wanted. I'll finish it." But finishing it isn't simple. Who can he trust? The police department? No. Northmore's reach stretches into government and law enforcement. The media? Maybe, but without ironclad proof, they'll dismiss him as a conspiracy nut. Or worse, Northmore will shut the story down before it sees daylight. That's when the knock comes. 3 sharp raps at the door. Thomas stiffens, gun in hand, and slowly opens it. Standing there with his sly grin and cowboy boots is Jedburgh. "Morning, detective," he drawls. "Looks like you've been busy." Thomas doesn't lower the gun. "Why are you here?" Jedburgh pushes his way inside, helping himself to a chair. He tips his hat back and studies Thomas with that same unreadable smirk. "You broke into Northmore. Impressive. Suicidal, but impressive. You've got their dirty laundry now, don't you?" Thomas doesn't answer, but Jedburgh's eyes gleam. "Don't worry. I don't need to see it. I already know what's down there. Nuclear toys, radiation leaks, bodies swept under the rug. All very ugly." "What do you want?" Thomas snaps. Jedburgh leans forward, his voice softening. "What I've always wanted, to offer you a choice. You can go public with this little treasure trove of yours, stir up a storm, maybe even bring down a few bad men. But trust me, before the week is out, you'll be dead, and the files will vanish into some dark drawer." Thomas clenches his jaw. "And the other choice?" Jedburgh's grin widens. "You give it to me. I've got channels you don't. People high up who owe me favors. I can make sure this goes where it hurts most. Not some cheap headline, but a real strike against the system." For a moment, Thomas almost considers it. Jedburgh does have reach, but then he remembers Emma, her determination to act on her own, her refusal to be used as anyone's pawn. "No," Thomas says firmly. "You're part of this machine, Jed.